Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers. In this video, we're going to be giving you our top running watches to buy right now. Now, this video has been brought in partnership with our friends at Precision Fuel and Hydration. Now, if you're watching this video trying to pick a new running watch or upgrade your running watch, then you're already pretty serious about your running time. Now, you know, as well as being very careful and considered about what you're putting on your wrist, you should also think about what you're using to fuel and hydrate your run. So whether that's in searing heat or, you know, during the summer months, whether you're training, you know, it's kind of autumn and winter months for a spring marathon, that fueling and hydration matters. Now, me personally, I've started doing longer runs now that I'm starting to recover from my injury. I've done a little bit more racing as well. There's a few things that I've started to use, or I've used regularly anyway in terms of my training to help me better feel fueled and hydrated for those runs. So the first thing would be the electrolyte tablets, Precision Fuel Hydration offer. You drop those into a bottle, and I use those pre-race and also building up to kind of a longer run as well. If I've got a longer run on the plan as well, I will take maybe a gel with me. Generally that would be enough for kind of, you know, a longish run for me. So these are things that we all need to think about. This is not something that comes naturally to me. I've always been a little bit ad hoc in terms of my fueling, but I've had to work at what works and what doesn't work for me. Now, you can take a little bit of the thinking out of that if you don't really know how to strategize about your fueling for a big race. Precision Fuel and Hydration have a really good tool on their website which helps you create that plan. You put a bit of information about yourself, about how much you sweat, the kind of event that you're looking to tackle, and it will build that plan for you. Now, if you're fueling for your first big race or you're inspired to try out the Precision Fuel and Hydration range, then we have a code in the caption of this video which will give you a discount to help you get started. So our first category is best running watch for beginners. Now, if you are at the start of your running journey or you are buying your first running watch, these are the watches that we think will be the best fit for you. So in terms of our top pick in this category, that is the Coros Pace 2. Now, the Coros Pace 2 definitely hits a sweet spot in terms of price and features. First and foremost, it's a nice, light, comfortable watch to wear. And if you're a bit put off about wearing a bulky watch, where some of the watches out there are, and this is a very comfortable watch to wear day to day and when you are tracking your runs. Now, in terms of the features you're getting here, you're getting, you know, very strong GPS performance. You're getting a level of metrics that if you want to keep it basic, you can. If you want to start delve a little bit more in terms of your analysis, you have that ability to do that as well here too. You're getting a level of battery life, and a battery life that Coros is really renowned for in terms of when you're tracking and also when you have the watch in standby mode and not really putting a lot of its kind of features or tracking features to use. It can go for a long time. You know, it can get you through a good week of training, get you a little bit longer if you're spreading your runs across a week as well too. And the other thing here is that with the Coros Pace 2 is that you're seeing features roll down from its more expensive watches in Coros's range into the Coros Pace 2. So, for example, you are now getting the ability to send routes to the Pace 2, and you're getting some breadcrumb style navigation support here as well. Now, you won't get the full maps that you get on the Coros Apex and the Coros Vertix, but you do have some navigation support there. If you're the kind of person that wants something to help you get back home or help you have a better sense of where you are on your route, then you have that support here. So our top pick for the best running watch for beginners is the Coros Pace 2. So our runner-up in this category is the Garmin Forerunner 55. Now, the 55 definitely felt like a response to the launch of the Coros Pace 2, and it definitely saw Garmin offer a bit more value at that kind of entry-level point in terms of its collection or watch collection. Now, in terms of the 55, you're only getting it in one case size compared to what we got on the 45. But ultimately, you're still getting something that's small, has a really kind of comfortable, light design. You're also getting a screen that really focuses on showing off those metrics that you really should be kind of focusing on when you are starting out tracking your runs. You're getting the ability to track heart rate, and you have the ability to pair external heart rate sensor to it as well if you start to kind of train by heart rate as well too. And then also you get these features that obviously start to move a little bit further in terms of those kind of forerunners that sit above the 55. So getting things like suggested workouts, also getting things like Pace Pro pacing strategies that really start to see that watch evolve into something a little bit different when you start to be a bit more confident about what you're tracking and what you want to track in terms of your runs. And also getting a level of battery life that will get you through a week's worth of training, a little bit like a Coros Pace 2 as well. So if you're looking for alternatives to the Coros Pace 2 in the Garmin collection, then we would say the Garmin 455 is definitely worth looking at as well. So on some honourable mentions, and we have already mentioned one of those watches, and that is the Garmin Forerunner 45. Now the 45 comes in 2 case size options, where the 55 doesn't. It only comes in 1 case size. It's definitely going to be available for cheaper than the 55 as well. So if you are really trying to spend less money on a watch than for your first watch, then this is definitely a watch to look at as well too. And the kind of things you're missing out on are things like that kind of full Connect IQ support that you do get on the Forerunner 55. Features like daily suggested workouts and the kind of pacer strategies. So some of those richer, kind of more in-depth and kind of detailed training features that you're getting in the 55, but ultimately that core running experience on the 45 is still very strong and keeps it to those basics and still offers good battery life overall as well too. Another watch worth mentioning here is the Polar Pacer. So there's a Polar Pacer Pro and the Polar Pacer. Now the Polar Pacer is the cheaper of these kind of new Pacer running watches. Now you don't get those kind of top end mapping and navigation features or those kind of richer training analysis or kind of performance tests that you get in those top end Polar watches, but in terms of the core running experience, there's a lot of what you get on those more expensive Polar watches, and you're paying a lot less money for it. Now if you are sold on the Polar ecosystem, you're looking for a running watch that kind of delivers a lot of those kind of core Polar features, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, and you don't love the way that kind of Garmin or Corus's ecosystem work, then the watch for us we'd pick at this price range would be the Polar Pacer. Performance wise, it works really well. I think screen wise, in terms of battery life, maybe not as strong as the Garmin or the Coros, but it will give you probably just under a week in terms of what you're getting there. And things like FitSpark and the kind of nightly recharge measurements that you do get on Polar's watches that are, you know, on the more expensive watches, you do get on the Polar Pace as well. So if you don't fancy the Forerunner 45, the 55 or the Coros Pace 2, then you can look at the Polar Pacer as well.
Obviously, every woman will kind of vary with what they're looking for in a running watch, but for me, I'm looking for a watch that's kind of small enough to fit comfortably on my wrists. I also want a watch that's going to let me track my cycle. Obviously, where you are in the world, your own personal preference. Some people want to track their cycle, other people won't. Some people want their watch to have the data, other people won't. I think in the last few years, we've really seen brands like Garmin, like Apple, really make a conscious effort to give us the capabilities to track our periods from our wrists. And I'm here for it. With all of that in mind, all of that said and done, my top pick is the Garmin Forerunner 265. This is the S, and it is about 1.1 inches across. There's the 265 is 1.3 inches, so it's a little bit bigger. And I really am impressed with this little watch. I've given it the top pick just because it was kind of between this and, to be honest, the 965, but the 965 only comes in the one size, so it is kind of more limiting. And I've said time and time again, I like a small running watch. I like a running watch that kind of sits really comfortably on my wrist, and this is so comfortable. It's really lightweight, you wouldn't know it's there. You can it's got the really beautiful bright AMOLED screen, which I think really makes a difference when you're wearing it 24/7. I think it looks pretty beautiful. I think you could easily wear this and it not look like a sport watch. Again, one of the reasons this has got my top pick over Apple, and I know that Apple does your skin temperature, which from a period tracking point of view is great. It's great that it does your skin temperature when you're sleeping, so it kind of can help make it more, if you're tracking when you ovulate, it can make that a little bit more accurate. But the Apple Watch battery life means that you have to charge it every night. It's not even on my wrist, it's sat on a charger, which kind of then, it's kind of then pointless having the skin temperature on there because you're charging your watch at that time. And obviously from a running perspective, the Apple Watch 8 is nowhere near as good, so it would be really unfair to pick that over this. And Garmin do a lot of period and then pregnancy tracking features, which Apple don't do. If you're pregnant, you can turn your training readiness score off automatically. It'll give you reminders to drink more because it's more important to stay hydrated when you're pregnant. So it's, Garmin are working on both sides of the female kind of fertility journey, which I think is really cool. Really, really rate this little watch, and it is my favourite watch. It's one of my go-tos. Runner-up wise, I had to talk about the Garmin Epix Pro. I've gone the other end of the spectrum and picked probably one of the most expensive watches on the market, but this has all the things I've just said about Garmin doing the period and pregnancy tracking really well in a really kind of beautiful high-end watch. I mean, this doesn't look like a running watch. You could easily get away with wearing this as jewellery. I've had so many compliments from this watch. I think the bright screen make it amazing, and it feels really kind of high end and beautiful on the wrist. So this is my top pick. I would pick this over the Phoenix 7 or the Phoenix 7 Pro just because it's brighter and it looks beautiful. And if you don't want a plastic kind of sporty looking watch, this is probably the one to go for. Another runner up, I love this watch. I still love this watch. And I know I've gone, this goes against everything I've said, but Garmin have sent me this to test in the black plastic. I would have gone for the white one if I was buying it myself. But it's the 965. Again, absolutely love this watch. This is really Garmin heavy, my free top picks. But I do love this watch. I just wish it came in a smaller size, because I do find this is probably getting to the edge of how big I want my watch to be. It's also worth mentioning that from a kind of female running safety perspective, the Garmin's all have the live track feature, which I use all the time if I'm going out on my own, and I'll kind of ping a text to my boyfriend or to my mum or someone so they can kind of watch where I am. Again, it's something you shouldn't have to use, but I like that it's on there, so that's another reason that I would pick Garmin over other competitors, just because it's got features like that which help me feel safe.
Value can be a tricky thing to nail down in a running watch, but for our picks, we're looking for watches that offer a really nice balance of price and features and tend to offer things that you can't get elsewhere on the market for the same price. That's really key for us when we're looking at value. And this year, some value has been created on the market, we think, by Garmin introducing AMOLED screens to two of its most popular watches in the 265 and 965. That's meant that the older versions of the watches have become excellent value, in particular the Garmin Forerunner 955, which is our winner in this category. So when we were doing our review for the watch, we tested the 955 Solar, which is why all the cutaways in this section are going to be of the 955 Solar, but we think when it comes to value, we'd be getting the regular 955 because the boost you get from the Solar watch isn't really worth the extra outlay. It's quite an expensive watch still, with an RRP of £480 or $500, but that price does tend to drop quite a lot in sales at the moment because the new watches are out with AMOLED displays, and that does mean that the Forerunner 955 ends up being a really fantastic value watch given the amount of features you are getting with it. And those features include essentially all of Garmin's best features, because it's still getting updated with software updates, the 955, and it's got maps, music, multi-band GPS, training readiness, all of Garmin's best training insights and sports tracking features, plus those maps and music in a lightweight watch that's pretty comfortable for most people to wear. It's not as large as some of the watches in the range, things like the Phoenix and Epics on the wrist. So it's just a huge package. So if you think about what you're going to have to pay to get those features from another watch, it's going to be hundreds more for things like the Phoenix and Epix watches. So that's why we think the Forerunner 955 is the best value watch in the market. But we can also understand why you might be angry at that idea, because it is still quite an expensive watch. So if you're looking for something more affordable that represents great value, then it's the Coros Pace 2 for us. That's our runner-up in this category. We've already discussed it in the video, but it's worth reiterating how much you get in a tiny little package, a very lightweight watch, comfortable for any runner to wear. Got that great battery life, good tracking, training analysis through the Coros app, all in a really nice little design, and it costs under £200 or $200. Yeah, that's sensational value. There's no arguing with that. And if that's what value means to you, the Coros Pace 2 is the better value watch out of this and the 955, but we do think the 955 pound for pound just packs in so many features for its price. Other notable watches in the value category include the older Garmin mid-range watches, in particular the Forerunner 255. Like the 955, it's now excellent value because the newer watch in the range has an AMOLED screen. And we love AMOLED screens. Obviously, we've picked them in several categories in this video, but if you are happy with the older memory and pixel display, you're going to get better value and better battery life by looking at the older watches in Garmin's range. The 255 does miss out on training readiness, which is a big loss compared to the Forerunner 265 in terms of training analysis, but otherwise, aside from that AMOLED screen, you are getting a very similar experience of multi-band GPS, slightly better battery life, really great sports tracking, good training analysis, breadcrumb navigation, and there's music options of the watch as well. So that's, again, an awful lot of features in a watch for what will be a lot less than the Forerunner 265 on RRP and then in sales as well. It's even a little case for looking at the even older Forerunner 245, which is a great running watch, but it is now a fair bit older, not supported by Garmin or software updates. So it might be worth hunting out the deal on the Forerunner 255 because it also gets some upgrades on the 245 like multi-band GPS. If you're looking for value among the watches that Garmin has released this year, then we do think the Forerunner 965 does represent very good value despite its quite high price tag of £600 or dollars. It is an AMOLED watch with really impressive battery life, lasting 6 or 7 days on a charge with the always on screen enabled. Has everything you can get from Garmin's best watches, really bright maps. It has the largest and best screen you'll get on any Garmin watch. It matches up to the screen of the Garmin Epix Pro 51mm, despite being a much smaller and lighter watch. We find it very comfortable to wear compared to those big Garmin watches, things like the Epix and the Phoenix, whilst having all those features at a slightly lower price. It's not a cheap watch, but it is certainly a watch that we think offers great value to runners who are shopping in that high-end category and want one of Garmin's newer watches with an AMOLED screen. Comes to value, we're also really big fans of the Coros watches that have now moved under the Decathlon umbrella. So the Kiprun 500 and the Kiprun 900 are both old Coros watches that have been repurposed, put out again as these Kiprun watches, and they have all the great strengths of Coros watches, such as long battery life and good training analysis via the Coros app across the range. So no matter how cheap you go, you're still getting very good training analysis. In particular, the Kiprun GPS 900 might be a nice value alternative for those looking at the Coros Pace 2 who would like a slightly nicer looking watch with a metal bezel. It's around the same price, has pretty much all the same features, including breadcrumb navigation, and has that metal bezel to give it a slightly different design option to the Coros Pace 2, which I love the look of, the little plastic Coros. I think it looks really good, but if you prefer a slightly smarter watch perhaps, then the Decathlon Kiprun 900 is a great value watch as well. We also think the Polar Pacer Pro is a watch that deserves an honourable mention in this category because it represents the best value in Polar's range. It has pretty much all the key features you're going to find on the more expensive Vantage and Grit watches in Polar's range in a smaller, lighter, sleeker and cheaper package. It has things like breadcrumb navigation, a barometric altimeter, and all the insightful tracking and training analysis you get from Polar watches in general. Lastly, we think the Amazfit T-Rex 2 is a worthy mention in the value category as an AMOLED sports watch that really has a great battery life, a really nice AMOLED screen, multi-band GPS. It's really a very capable all-round watch and really competitively priced at £219 or $230 on RRP, another one that's often in sales as well. It's a hardy, durable watch as well, and if you're looking for an AMOLED sports watch and you aren't shopping in Garmin's range in particular, then I think the Amazfit T-Rex 2 is one of the best options on the market out there and very good value.
So the winner then for the category of the best watch for battery life is the Garmin Enduro 2. The Garmin Enduro 2 is more watch than most people need, with a price tag that many might not be able to justify in the current economic climate. But when it comes to all-round run skills, from daily urban miles to long adventures off-grid, it's excellent. And with an even bigger 110-hour GPS battery life, it packs the best runtime battery in the business. It's got a new touchscreen, it's got topo maps, there's offline music, there's that all-important LED flashlight that everyone loves. Plus you get all the run and fitness tracking, navigation, smartwatch skills, customization, durability that you get on Garmin's top tier watches. It now not only looks like a Phoenix, but it now packs the smarts of Garmin's flagship multi-sports watch too. It's basically like a Phoenix with more staying power. So if battery life is your top priority, the Enduro 2's endurance is virtually unrivaled. It tops the Phoenix 7X Solar's 89 hours of full GPS and 213 hours in max battery mode. Only the Coros Vertix 2 offers longer GPS lifespan with 140 hours GPS, 240 in ultra max low power mode. Now, to put the Enduro 2's battery life into context, using the right power modes to track your efforts, it will basically happily survive most week-long multi-day endurance challenges. Plus it has enough gas in the tank to cover a month-long streak for anyone who wants to run an hour a day. In fact, most people will potentially only need to charge the Enduro 2 like a dozen times a year. And if you're on 5%, you can still head out for a 2-hour run with confidence with this watch, so it's a cracker. Now, the runner-up in this category, we chose the Garmin Fenix 7X, mainly because if you want that mix of good staying power with an excellent all-round ability, but a slightly more budget-friendly price, then the Garmin Fenix 7X is a good option. It packs 89 hours of GPS runtime, 63 in all systems, and 213 hours when you set it to max battery GPS mode. It's another watch that doesn't need charging all that often, and it can handle long and multi-day adventures. And beyond that battery life, you've got an excellent adventure running, rugged all-rounder. Now, some notable mentions as well, some other watches that we feel we should mention in this space. The brand new Sunto Vertical, which we've just reviewed favourably on the channel, that packs between 60 and 140 hours of tracking depending on your GPS power modes. The pricier Titanium Solar model will go much further as well, that's 85 and 280 hours again depending on your power mode. The Coros Vertix 2 is one of the biggest full GPS batteries going with 140 hours in full GPS, though you will make sacrifices I think on things like screen brightness and accuracy for that.
One other watch that's quickly worth mentioning for its battery life is the Epix Pro 51mm model from Garmin. Now, it's important that it's the largest Epix Pro because the battery life really does increase dramatically compared to the smaller models in the range. The Epix Pro 51mm model will last up to 11 days on a charge with the screen set to always on in watch mode. And if you turn the screen to raise to wake, it will hit 31 days. That's obviously depending on how much you're going to use it for sports. I found that the watch did last me 10 days on a charge though, running almost every single day with the screen set to always on and notifications coming in. It offers 58 hours of GPS battery life with the screen always on and 30 hours of multi-band GPS battery life. So those are really big numbers for an AMOLED watch, and we think this is likely to be a trend you start to see from Garmin and other brands, that the AMOLED watches start to really ramp up their battery life, so the gap between them and the memory and pixel display watches becomes a little bit smaller. So far it's just the 51mm Epix Pro that's really done this, and it's a very expensive watch, but it's worth flagging up here as the best battery life you're going to find from an AMOLED watch.
So our next category is best smartwatch for runners. So pretty straightforward in terms of what we're talking about here. We're talking about a watch that first and foremost is a smartwatch, and it's something that you can use day to day, or is useful day to day when you're not tracking your runs, but also offers those running features that do make it a great running watch experience as well too. Now we try to offer something for both iOS and Android in our picks. Our top pick is the Apple Watch Ultra. So I think as a team of the people who have tested the watch, and we've done the review on the channel and done some marathon tests of it as well, it really is the smartwatch that has performed above all other smartwatches that we've tested on the channel as a team. First and foremost, if you're an iPhone user, there's very few other smartwatches really touch it in terms of the integration, the sleekness of the operating system, that big third-party app support that you don't really get from other smartwatches in general as well, that really elevates the experience you get on the Apple Watch Ultra. But then when you look from the running side of things, you've got this really impressive dual band mode. You are getting things in terms of that bigger screen that you don't get on the Apple Watch Series 8 and older Apple Watch models. You're getting, I think the heart rate monitor performance is pretty good overall as well, and you can pair it to an external heart rate monitor chest strap as well if you need to do that as well too. And as I said, those extra running apps that you can get from the Apple App Store really kind of fill the gaps in terms of what the Apple Watch Ultra can't deliver on its own natively, but can now deliver it now that you can tap into those other apps as well. So for us, the best smartwatch for runners is the Apple Watch Ultra right now. And our runner-up is a watch that does work for both Android and iOS users, and we've gone for the Garmin Forerunner 265. So the Forerunner 265 is a watch, it's a running watch, but ultimately I think it's a running watch that really straddles between the smartwatch and running watch experience as well, very well. It works for Android and iOS. Obviously, it has an AMOLED screen, which makes it feel more of a smartwatch. It's a touch screen as well, and it really helps to make interacting with the watch itself feel more like a smartwatch, whether that's kind of using the music controls and the music features, whether it's dealing with notifications. That AMOLED display and the slickness of the touchscreen in general make it a really nice screen and a watch to deal with as well. And you've got all those kind of core Garmin features that you expect to find in terms of training analysis. You now have that multi-band mode on the 265 like you did on the 255 as well. We found the heart rate tracking performance from the wrist-based sensor pretty good, but you can obviously pair it with the heart rate sensor as well too. And there's a level of training and analysis that I think, and coaching modes that can give you a more well-rounded experience. But ultimately, I think it's a good balance there. The other thing to mention is obviously with that AMOLED display on, if you've got it always on, the battery life is pretty good as well, and it kind of betters a lot of the smartwatches that have running focus features in there as well too. So if you're looking for a smartwatch that works for both Android and iOS, for us, the Garmin Forerunner 265 is our runner-up pick. And also a couple of notable mentions, the first one being the Apple Watch Series 8. Now with the Series 8 compared to the Apple Watch Ultra, you're not getting that dual band mode, you're not getting that extra action button, you're not getting that bigger screen, and you're not getting that slight boost in terms of battery life. But in terms of the experience in general, it's holding on to a lot of things that really impressed us on the Apple Watch Series 7. The heart rate monitor performance is very solid. You've still got the ability to tap into the same ecosystem as the Apple Watch Ultra as well. The battery life still holds pretty well as well too here, and you're still going to get generally a really good, strong smartwatch experience as well. Notifications, music features, if you want to use it in a kind of the LTE and standalone mode, it's very strong on that front as well too. So everything that you would want in terms of a smartwatch really is delivered well in the Apple Watch Series 8. Another watch worth mentioning is the Amazfit T-Rex 2. Now this is an option for Android and iOS users here. Now this is a kind of outdoor centric watch, kind of like an affordable Phoenix, and in terms of what you're getting here on the Amazfit T-Rex 2, first and foremost, you're getting very nice smartwatch features in terms of music controls, in terms of the notification support across Android and iOS. It's trying to build an ecosystem around it in terms of apps. That's not maybe its strength, but in terms of the presentation, in terms of how slick the operating system works, that is definitely something that's really kind of impressed us in general. And then you've got very strong battery life here as well too. Now in terms of that run tracking experience, you have got dual band here, and not every watch has really impressed us in terms of that dual band mode, but on the Amazfit T-Rex 2 it did very, very well, and it's up there with the kind of best performing dual band kind of modes we've seen in watches in general. And in terms of what you can deal with the metrics, the fact you can kind of connect it with Strava and share, with those kind of big third-party apps as well, gives it a little bit more in terms of what you're getting here. So that is definitely a watch and a smartwatch worth checking out as well too. Okay, so last up is best running watch to buy if money is no object. You can definitely spend a lot of money on running watches. Not everyone has to, but you definitely can. Now, in terms of what that's going to get you, that's going to get you the best of the best in terms of software features, the highest quality kind of materials in terms of design, and arguably the biggest battery life that you're going to get in terms of that brand's range as well too. So our top running watch pick to spend big on is the Garmin Epix Pro, and it's the 51mm version we want to talk about here. Now obviously the original Garmin Epix, you only had that in a single case size. Now with the Garmin Epix Pro, you're getting it in 42, 47 and the 51mm. Now in terms of what you're getting on that 51mm version, I think it really represents where Garmin is pushing its range in terms of watches with an AMOLED display. So you're getting everything that those smaller watches offer in the Epix Pro range in terms of software, in terms of things like its multi-band mode as well. You're also getting the new kind of features like endurance score, hill score, everything you would expect to get from a Fenix watch is on this Epix Pro as well. The big thing for us here is the level of battery life that you're getting. The battery life you're getting on the Epix Pro 51mm is really closing the gap in terms of what you would get from a similar sized Fenix 7X and 7X Pro. So if you're looking for a watch that offers a really nice look, those kind of higher quality materials in terms of case design, an AMOLED display and a battery life that really does start to show what AMOLED screens and Garmin's with AMOLEDs and sports watches with AMOLEDs are really capable of, that is the watch we think you should be going for. And so to our runner-up in this category, and it is the Apple Watch Ultra. Now we know about the battery life and how it compares to other kind of dedicated sports watches and running watches that we've spoken about in this video. But in terms of that core run tracking experience and actually in terms of accuracy and performance from that side of things, it really does deliver. If you have an iPhone, if you're looking for a smartwatch and also a sports watch and a running watch, this is arguably the best option for you at the moment. It is expensive, and ultimately you are paying for those extra features that you don't get on a standard Apple Watch. So things like the dual band mode, there's extra action button as well, and generally having a bigger screen as well to kind of view your metrics on as well too. But the battery life has been good enough for us to last a marathon. We've collectively and through the team have tested it for marathons, and it's kind of delivered very well on that front. And if you are someone that's looking for a smartwatch, you're looking for those core kind of notifications, things like music features, you're getting that on the Apple Watch Ultra, and you're also getting, crucially, the run tracking and the level of metrics and the support in terms of third-party apps to really get you a strong running experience as well too. And in terms of some other notable mentions, we have to talk about the Garmin Fenix 7X Pro. Now we've talked about the Epix Pro 51mm, but if you're looking for the Fenix equivalent, that will get you significantly more battery life than the Garmin Epix Pro in the same size. Gives you all those kind of same Garmin features at that top end in terms of multi-band, in terms of the same software, training, analysis, everything you would expect to find on a Garmin. And go for the Sapphire Solar version if you really want to spend big. That will give you that kind of extra solar charging, solar harvesting powers. It will give you that kind of higher quality build in terms of the case design as well. And that's really what you're spending the money on there. As I said, it's a really strong watch in terms of the run tracking experience and what you would expect from a Garmin, but you're getting it in that bigger case size with a bigger battery life and all the features you expect to find on a Garmin watch for a lot more money. And we also have to give a little bit of a shout out to the Sunto Vertical, which is definitely a late addition to our list here. We obviously just recently tested it, and we're talking about the titanium version. Now the Sunto Vertical comes in a stainless steel bezel option, but also a titanium version. That's the one myself and Nick have tested in our review video. And as you'll see from a review video, if you haven't watched it yet, it's probably the best Suunto that we've used in terms of the performance, in terms of the design. It's all stepping in the right direction in terms of what we've got here from Suunto on the vertical. The performance in terms of its dual band mode, in terms of visibility of the screen, in terms of the battery life when you're using it in that top GPS accuracy mode as well, has all really impressed us. And yeah, if you go for the titanium version, it is going to cost a lot more money. But if you are kind of sold on the Suunto ecosystem, now the fact you're getting top-end maps on this watch as well, which you had to previously rely on the phone app to get that, paying that extra money definitely gets you the better watch, and it's definitely one worth having a look at if you're not sold on one of the Garmin's or the Apple Watch. Okay, so there you have it. That is our video on our top running watch picks. Hopefully you found that video useful, and hopefully it's going to steer you in terms of what should be your next running watch, or potentially what you should upgrade to next. Now, if you've got any questions about any of the watches that we've included in this video, do let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, hit that little bell to find out about latest videos, and yeah, we'll see you in the next Round Testers video.